without the screaming. An energy so stark, a Marshall Mathers without the rhymes. Like executing Beethoven music without the lines. You know something's missing, but you can't figure out why. Maybe it was done and fleeing and the music's about to die. It's like the Snoop without the dog, and a tour without the smoke. Biggie without the Smalls, Tyson without the Broke. Led without the Zeppelin, Strummer without the Clash. Paul without Lennon, like Johnny without the cash. Like Mick without Keith, and the band without the boss. Just like Angus without the Young, and Wings without the sauce. Guns without the Roses, Axl without Slash. A guitar without Jimmy, a finale without Mash. Mash, 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 mash. When life seems down and everything tattered, take a trip with us back to when the music mattered. When life seems down and everything tattered, take a trip with us back to when the music mattered. Music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to When the Music Mattered. My name is Ray Rout, here for episode number 14. And a kind of a special episode for us tonight. Nobody knows this. So in my real life big boy job, I am the director of brand marketing and communications for a not-for-profit charitable organization called Job Skills here in the Greater Toronto area, primarily in York and Peel region. And just a little bit of pitch, we work with everybody who's looking for employment. We support job seekers, we support the business community, and we are the bridge between job seekers and employers who are looking for new employees, helping everybody out. And one other thing that we do is we produce a quarterly free community magazine called Compass Magazine, which goes across the entire GTA. And I am also a senior content director, as they like to call me, or editor, as they like to call me. And we're doing a special collaboration here today, doing a twofer interview here. My guests today are Mountainhead, a fantastic band here in Canada. And not only are they here for When the Music Mattered, but this interview will also be used to write our featured cover story for Compass Magazine. So we're so excited to have them on. And I've already wasted 3 minutes of their life. So let me get them on here and let's bring on Mountainhead. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you guys are out in, I think you just flew to BC today. So appreciate you and making time for me and dealing with my demands.
Anytime, dude.
So I'm just going to jump right into this, and I'm going to start with what inspired the mountain-shaman origin story behind Mountainhead. And is there a real life metaphor or a narrative that you're channeling there as a band?
It is pretty much, a true story. And there is a metaphor within it. And it is like the origins of what went on. We met up with a Mayan shaman, and we ended up doing a DMT ceremony with him. And after that, I mean, not literally, but it felt like when Kyle and I were walking out of the park afterwards, it almost felt like we were dressed like this and wearing this, because this is kind of when it got thrusted into the forefront of what we wanted to do.
It's amazing. So let's talk about that a little bit, though, about those visual elements, the gold grails, the venom, the hats. How is that reflected on you as musicians and performers in how you present yourselves?
Makes it really easy to know who the band is when we're playing. It makes it easy for us because we know what we're wearing.
Yep.
And we just wanted to be pretty clear with what we were doing from the start, and black and gold was the color scheme. So we just kind of reflected that everywhere. And like now we use the little metaphor that we're reflecting light from the black hole.
Okay. So I guess when you look at all these elements, when you look at the true story of your origin story as a band, and you look at your presentation, how do you balance the surrealness of Mountainhead, I would call it? And I do follow guys on social media. I tried my best to get up to see you live last weekend, but just life would just not allow it to happen.
That happens. I've been playing more shows though.
But how do you let that Surreal Mountain Head identity? How does that balance with? Well, I guess without saying this offensive, your real selves or your out of musician and performance selves, and where does one end and one begin, and how much of it is it a blend as your everyday life?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just all one thing now. I mean, there's not much difference between who we are when we play versus who we are when we don't, because we're kind of always exploring internally, always exploring musically, and always exploring just life itself. Always kind of finding, testing, and implementing new boundaries.
So to push you a little bit on that, because I hear musicians tell me all the time they're always exploring life and exploring those boundaries. What does that mean to you when you say that you're exploring life and exploring those boundaries?
I mean, there's no secret that my brother and I like to experiment with psychedelics in intentional settings, and with different avenues and aspects. Like we're pretty intentional with how we're doing it, and kind of in a ceremonious way. And so we've utilized that to calm and access the nervous system, which we found once it opens up, there's a lot more going on in life and inside than a bunch of words and a bunch of ideas and a bunch of concepts that we're kind of always batting around in a society.
And get to explore our creative avenues through music. Like we just use that medium, any medium actually we go through. But music is our mainstay, so we can push boundaries there too.
So anytime you're going through any sort of experimental journey, no matter how you're getting there, sometimes you're going to discover truths maybe you didn't know exist, or you're going to face the unknown demons or something of that nature, or maybe just something's going to get opened up to life. And I'm wondering if you're open to it, sharing maybe something that surprised you on throughout your journey, maybe something you faced at some point.
So many things. Like some of the early things was kind of seeing recurring thought loops, seeing thought itself and how it's so limited because it's only happening in a specific language, which itself is such a limited medium, and starting to understand the pace of metabolism in the stomach versus the pace of the head, and being in more coherent and congruent with nature and that pace, which is kind of like, there's a famous quote, nature's never in a hurry, but everything gets done. Realizing that a lot of who I thought I was were actually just habits and not a person at all. And that was kind of, at certain points, at first it's kind of a little reality shattering when you realize you're much, much larger and much smaller than you once supposed.
So that's a really interesting concept or discovery, I should say. And I've never heard that quote, and I never even thought of it that way, that nature moves so slow but everything gets so done. That's quite a, sorry, I'm having my little discovery moment here. I guess so. How do you find that balance now? So you've come to this discovery, but we live in a society that moves so quickly. 5 years ago, the Prime Minister at the time, Justin Trudeau, made a comment that said, the world is moving as faster than it's ever moved before, and yet this is the slowest it's ever going to move. And it just, obviously with the music scene, with anything in life, everything just flips and turns and goes. So how do you try to find that balance of keeping up with everyday life and also balancing, that sort of philosophy as you're moving forward?
We have like practical practices to slow to slow the nervous system down, instead of like slowing the world down. Just slow yourself down, and you can process things a lot better when you're relaxed and slow, and it's not as overwhelming. But obviously some meditation, yoga, breathing, all these things are
cold plunge sauna.
Cold plunge sauna. All these things are ancient and been around for a long time for a reason.
And trying to limit exposure to things that aren't really in our immediate environment. Like, I know there's a lot going on, but it almost seems silly to bring in all this anxiety and all this negativity when it's simply not necessary. And I have plenty to attend to in my primary reality right in front of my eyes, and not on a screen.
And have control in our media environment rather than
With where our attention goes.
in the abstract. And it's not to ignore it either, but not to sit in there because
Exactly, like you're kind of saying, finding balance is just we try to keep the ourselves from revving up too much, and we usually do that through, like I was saying, all those practices that kind of, especially the cold plunge, kind of puts you in your place pretty quickly, and you can't really fight it, so you just kind of have to give in a little bit, and then after that you're kind of you've kind of surrendered for the day. And that doesn't mean you don't get things done and you're not going to do everything. It's just you're not
fighting or resisting things as much as you might during the day.
And then I think you kind of sort of answered this, but I'll maybe just press you a little bit more, maybe in a different way. So how does this now reflect into the music that you're presenting to society? So you're going on these discoveries, you're taking what I see as practical actions to slowing down yourself, discovering yourself and discovering nature around you as you go. How does that then not just be reflected in your music? Because I know everybody always looks for the reflection, or some people go on these journeys but don't share it with the world. How do you share that through your music?
It seems to be like a lot of our music, it just kind of appears, and it's not like we never sit down to write. We never do that. We either when we're jamming or playing around, stuff will come up, or like we'll just get beamed in the head. Yeah. And we found that like the vast majority of the music we released, if not all of it, has been, the music kind of comes along, we're jamming along, and then the lyrics kind of come. We're not really fighting with it. And when we're not fighting with it, usually that's the best result for the song. And then we find that, there becomes a multiplicity of ways to look at what we're saying or what the music's saying. And it changes over time, like kind of listening back now to some of the stuff we did 5 years ago, you kind of like take it different. You're like, oh, maybe like I'm understanding this differently now, what like subconsciously was being said. So it's kind of its own, thread. It seems like we're just kind of getting our own subconscious feedback through everything that's going on.
So when I use the word discovered you in the loosest of terms, when you came into my realm and I discovered you were a band, and my partner and I we put on your music, and it's why I wanted to get you guys on here, because we put on your music and we were driving on the road, and she looked at me and she said, like, what genre do you classify these guys under? And I said, it's not very often that I can look at you and say I have no fucking idea, but I have no idea where to put them under, but it's so good. And we just listened to everything we could find that you guys were doing, and you're both now part of our regular playlist that we put together. Your music's a part of our regular playlist.
That's awesome.
However, I want to now put it to a different scenario. So I'm sitting at a conference table and I'm pitching you as the cover of the magazine, because it's by committee, and so we pull you up on the big screen and I show the website. And so here's a band in my eyes that's just what I think made me fall in love with your music and you as performers is the individuality that I saw that came from the band, and the uniqueness that came from the band. And the first thing that gets put on the table is they look like ZZ Top, right? When they see the long beards. And I'm sure you've heard that comparison before.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah.
Do you take it as people, as a group that to me is probably the least mainstream group I could probably find or interview? Of anybody I've interviewed, and I've interviewed some great musicians, but it's all in line with the mainstream expectations. And I really look at you guys as against the grain of what the mainstream expectations are. How do you enjoy being there? And how do you feel when people try to put you on a stream and try to put you into the mainstream, make comparatives to the mainstream, and almost try to box you in? Like I said, I won't put a genre to you because I just don't even think it's not fair to do that. But I know I played the music for you and people were immediately putting you into a genre in the room that I was in. And how do you fight that, or do you just allow people to experience Mountainhead the way they want to experience Mountainhead?
Yeah, I mean, whatever anyone wants to label it is their business and not ours.
Yeah.
And we're in the same boat with you, man. We have no idea what the hell this is when it comes to genre. And yeah, I mean, comparison's fine. There's no issue there. I mean, I think we look more like ZZ Top than we sound, but we're also like a a groove-based band. Like all of our music's pretty groovy. So I guess
same with the top too.
Same with the top. So I guess there's some things there, but yeah, I definitely think when it comes to the industry, that's where things get a little interesting, because there is all those genres and ideas and boxes and concerns, and we're really, it's kind of an anomaly. If we're pitching for radio or streaming or any feedback we've gotten, it's kind of like, and like that's exactly where we want to be, because there's no pin to place when it comes to Mountainhead.
And I guess one of the experiences you would have had that I find the most interesting is, in my mind, there's no band that has embraced the mainstream and learned how to commercialize themselves more than Nickelback. And then for you to be the opening act at their album release, how did you feel with fitting in that scene of, because it's just, look, I always say I love festivals or shows where it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like where it's like one group to the other. But to me, it really didn't make sense. You know what I mean? When I look at who you were opening up for, could you tell me a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome experience. And shout out to Nickelback. Those guys were awesome to us and really cool dudes. And like, it was really cool to do that gig, because, there was tons of people on tons of big labels that were getting pressed for that gig. And Ryan and Chad ended up selecting us. So that was pretty cool out of all the bands. And, shout out to our agents at the time for putting us in front of them.
Yep.
It was really cool. And I think, there was a cool juxtaposition there, because, we're like kind of the most underground band there is. And we're now, we're sharing the stage with Nickelback. And like, it was cool. It was cool to convert the audience. It's really fun to play opening gigs. You get used to playing your own shows, and when you're at opening gigs, people don't know who you are, and maybe even be a little standoffish. So you got to work a little harder to convert them. But I find that some of those people that you convert become like your lifetime fans, because you work them all the way from the bottom of the mountain to the top. And it was a really cool experience, all in all.
For sure.
Like, it was a cool achievement for us as an independent band, and I can't say enough good things about the guys and how they treated us and how everyone was.
Mm-hmm.
So playing off connecting with fans and building that fan base, I just saw a social media post from you guys. It may have been an older one, but it just came across my feed of a young fan, I guess, who had a song request for you. And after the show, it looked like you guys sat down and kind of jammed it out for him.
Yeah.
I guess the question would be, and maybe this is a lesson for everybody, or this could be teaching moments for a lot of musicians. Why take the time to do that with a young fan when technically you don't have to?
It's just like with us. I mean, we're humanity first, and like human first. We interact with our fans a lot. We take a lot of pictures. We talk to people. We take the time with everyone. And I mean, it's not like we would always, this situation, it just called for it in the way it came up. We had a pretty good set up that we were smoking out, and sometimes if you're not, if a song's not in rehearsal compared to what we're pumping out, it just doesn't feel good for us to play. And so that song wasn't in the set, and it just felt like the right thing to do. And I mean, if you're going to be out here in a rock and roll band or any type of band or any type of artist, like your audience, your fans, if you want to call them customers, this is a reflection of you, and the way you treat everyone involved is the way you'll be treated. And you want to treat everyone like everyone's a reflection of you. So treat them how you want to be treated, and don't get a big idea about who you are, what you need. Just try to do your best to remember everything and remember everyone. And there's a balance to that as well, but it's being a good person, it goes a long way. And like truthfully, just all that means is being present and with the people when you're around them.
So another way that I guess almost every band today connects with their audience is through social media, through TikTok and Instagram, and TikTok's where you guys came into my realm. And you talk about algorithms and you talk about this kind of stuff. And really that's how I found you. It's my algorithm on TikTok is just independent bands, indie bands, you know what I mean? And it's as soon as I feel like I connect with, I'm a singer-songwriter myself, and just as soon as I feel like I connect with a band, it's like, all right, I got to talk to them. I want to get them on. Like I explained to you guys when I reached out, like we're just guys that love talking about music, right? And unfortunately, my partner couldn't be here today, but it's, we talk about music. Your guys' social media, especially your skidded stuff when you're promoting like a show and this, like I love it. It makes me laugh. It's just, like when you're hiding, when you're behind bars doing things, or you're walking, having those like almost just those dumb conversations, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that your own creativity? Is that a manager telling you how to do it? Do you have a social media team? Like who's coming up with the jokes as you're connecting?
Definitely us. Like we have people that help us run ads, like when we're running ads the back end, but we'll make all the creatives. And like usually what we're up to is like whatever's going to make us kind of laugh or be fun to do, because all the ads, like it's just becoming so much of the same, especially these days. All the ads, all the gimmicks, it's like, the lip syncing and the video tags and all these things that you're trying to do to get views, and it starts to convolute what the point of this whole thing is. And like, sure, you want to reach audiences, and you want, say if you're doing whatever, you want it to reach people, but if you're starting to make content just to reach people, it becomes a weird thing, because it's like it's an emptiness to it. Instead of just trying to do, like, again, we try to do things a little differently so that we're actually having fun while making the creation.
That's the main part. Yeah.
I'd like to dive a little bit deeper on that if we could. I'm not sure how old you guys are, but you don't have white in your beard like I do, so I'm going to assume I'm older. But I when I started my band, it was back in like 2000. 2000 was the first band I ever had. Like I was 14 years old. We came out, and then 2003, and I was on a circuit here in the GTA. And there was no social media, so promotion was literally like walking around school with flyers and CDs and cassette tapes and handing it out to people, and come to my show and I'll cover your $5 cover. And I was paying people to come watch us. I didn't have this outlook of TikTok and Instagram and that type of thing. And in one sense, I hate that I didn't have it. In another sense, I love that I didn't have it, because I got to kind of old school it. So for you as musicians, how do you like? What is the balance between, and I love asking bands this, like, what is the balance between like just being freaking musicians, but then having to be content creators, right? Because this is the way it works now. Even the biggest bands in the world are creating content. I mean, Simple Plan have become, to me, some of the best content creators in the world now, right? It's so how do you balance that out?
I mean, we've thrashed up against the thought of doing this stuff many times.
Oh yeah,
hemmed and hawed and kicked the stones down the way, but ultimately it's the same thing. We just understand that it's, you kind of spend all this time making the music that you love, and you really dig it, and you want to get it out, but it's like, so now what? And you can't abandon it at that time. You put all this time and effort into the creation of the music or the album or the EP or whatever, and now it's up to you to continue promoting it. It's like you can't just let it go and fall down into the river. Like you got to build it a little raft and try to do something with it. So we try to just follow that same kind of principle. Like, what if we have? Is there a vibe or idea we want to work with? Is, some songs there's a creative vision that kind of comes with it. Sometimes it's a week before the release and we've done nothing, and we just fly by the seat of our pants. But we basically just try to keep it fun and enjoy the creation itself, so that Kyle and I don't start getting short with each other and we start getting pissed off and then losing the sight of what we're actually trying to do.
So getting now more into the music and away from the business side of things, without putting you in a genre, because I hear a lot of hip hop influence in what you're doing. I hear the blues, I can hear the rock, I can hear the old school funk that's coming out. You had one song, and I looked at my wife, I was like, I could hear Rick Ross singing this song. You know what I mean? It's doing that whole mix. And I think your website said like Johnny Cash, Flavor Flav, Billy Gibbons, that type of thing. When you look at these kind of artists in these genres, who or what, or I guess, which one of those musically do you spirit, or do you embrace spirit? Which one of those do you embrace the most? Like, which one of those, maybe individually, maybe I'll ask you both individually, when you're blending these different fusions of different styles of music, which one really individually speaks to you the most?
Well, like I grew up pretty much on hip hop, so I go the hip hop thing would be the most influential from my end. And I'm playing the bass too, so I'm always listening to like getting specific about the bass tone. But it needs to sound like an 808 kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd say, I mean, for me, when I was young and learning guitar, I was really into like hair metal. I was really into like Ozzy Osbourne, all that stuff.
R.I.P.
So yeah, so that was in there a lot, and then we got into the '60s music quite a bit. So there's a lot of that, and then like I was into hip hop as well, but way more into rock and roll when I was younger, and then yeah, it's a little bit of everything. But I'd definitely say there's like a good blend of like hip hop, 80s rock and roll, and the whole idea of the '60s.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, like we've kind of not consciously but semi-consciously like started building the songs like hip hop tracks, but as rock and roll songs.
That's
And
amazing.
we definitely choose, like you're saying, like a lot of our rhythm arrangement are like hip hop based.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I'm wondering, are there any other kind of genres or artists and styles of music that they do that maybe you'd look at exploring and experimenting with in the future and infusing into some of your future work? Is there anything you have on the top of your mind maybe that you've been wanting to maybe throw on the table?
Definitely. I mean, Ben, we both play like Indian classical music, so like sitar and tabla. So there's all that stuff.
That's already kind of hidden in there now.
Yeah, a little bit.
We've got a bunch of stuff coming out that we've been working on that's much more a little heavier on Indian classical, because yeah, that's been a real big discipline for the last 12 years. And that kind of going back to the psychedelic thing, when we were doing all the psychedelics, I was learning the Indian classical with my guru, and like that was almost like rebuilding the way I saw reality, because it was like this very fundamental ancient system that was incoherent, or it was in alignment with what I was learning via mushrooms, LSD, what have you, all this stuff. And it kind of just made quite the synthesis and changed everything, not just the music, just everything.
So from a personal standpoint, I can say that I'm really excited to hear that coming out. So my musical, I would say I don't have heroes in life, but some of my inspirations and some of my people, Jeff Martin is one of the guys that I just absolutely adore. And he just put out that album last year, 7 Deadly Sins, which was all the sitars and just all that, you know what I mean, exotic instruments. And I love listening to him create music. So it's because I love a 4/4 beat like the next guy, and there's fun songs to dance to, but I love when I can connect on an emotional level to music and a deep to music. And when you gotta zero in and listen to an instrument or listen to a sound, that's how I love to listen to music. So sorry, this is me just gushing over you guys. So I'll move on.
That'd be cool, man. It's got us excited too.
So I don't want to get too much into the. I really kind of understand this part of it. I guess I'll ask: have you taken any creative risks in the past when you're making that just didn't turn out? Like when you're just, hey, we want to infuse this into our music, and it just wasn't working. Like no matter how hard like it was one. Like I've had that in music where it's like I just want to insert an element and it just doesn't fit anything I do. Have you guys ever run into that ever?
Oh, for sure. I don't think we don't necessarily, we haven't too often come to the table with an idea in mind unless it's a song that's already shown up. But there's definitely been a lot of tunes or ideas that didn't quite work out, or some of them you start out as a song and then it turns into like, this is just like a really good joke. And then you go back and forth about that, but that happens. It happens a fair amount. There's always gonna be.
We can't figure out a chorus all of a sudden, trying to change it to the like we run into that a bunch, where it's just you have this good thing going and then hit a wall. You're like, what the hell? All right.
Or you try like something you're kind of hearing in your head that just when materialized is not not quite working.
Yeah.
Beep beeps what comes down.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Sure.
Do you guys individually have any other kind of creative outlets? Like any of the art? Like for me, I write poetry, which it can tie into songwriting in some sense, but it's another outlet. Or is it just music for you guys?
A lot of music, but
Drawing
and
writing,
writing, and like we kind of like throughout the day. There's a lot of improv. There's a lot of voices and just ridiculous stuff. I mean, we kind of just
always keeping ourselves entertained pretty well, pretty good.
But you know, there was a period. I mean, we've been talking about getting back to it. Like we were producing like an audio stories. So we were doing all the characters, different voices, producing all the environments and stuff. And it was
fun.
It was a lot of fun. But it's one of those things that like we just didn't do it one day, and then we haven't been back to it in years.
Oh, that's wicked. Okay, so we're kind of getting to the tail end of the questions I want to ask here, and we're getting kind of into the legacy parts and that kind of thing. But before we get into that, I want to ask you one question: is what's one truth, or what's a truth about yourselves that you think people would never guess from the Mountainhead image?
We like cooking.
Like, are you guys like really into cooking? Like, do you like practice different techniques and different kinds of foods?
Not crazy, but we definitely like try a bunch of different recipes. Like I got just a doozy of I can make a doozy of a Detroit style pizza. We just are always kind of again in the kitchens, like the music. You know, we like to experiment. And we like gardening too. I mean, that's another one.
Yeah.
Really, gardening, eh?
Weed and food.
Is legacy anything that you think about while you're creating, or is it just something that will show up, at a different day?
Yeah, I don't really think about that stuff at all. It's like usually how it happens is like we'll get a cluster of songs show up and we'll surf those waves and then just keep going. And we just try to, by the time the song's coming out, we there's like you said, like it sounds like so hippie, but like the songs show up in such a way that it's hard to even like say that we wrote them.
We don't get too personal over them. As the time's gone on, we've gotten less and less personal with it.
Just found the more we create, the less we're like stuck to like, the vocals on it.
The next one's coming anyway.
Okay, so going down that road, when you're writing music, and obviously you write music, but you're also writing music so other people can hear it, right? Are you writing it with the studio in mind, or do you have the live performance at the forefront when you're writing your music?
It's flip-flopped. Like the first bunch of songs, because we weren't necessarily a band out live yet, we had, the first 8 songs, we had the idea, and then as we recorded them, we figured them out. And then that was kind of the process up until we finished the backseat EP, and then it kind of started shifting because we'd been gigging a lot and writing live as a band together. So then we were kind of, now, like we've just put our list together. We have like 150 songs we're trying to plow through, and like, we know a lot of them. We don't know some of them. It's like you look at it and like, what song is that? And then once it comes back, you're like, okay, cool. But a lot of the ones that are in the pile we're working on recording right now, it's like we know them well from playing them live and playing them as a band. So it's shifted over the years, but we do both.
Yeah.
How do you, beyond like streams and getting on like the Billboard and getting on charts and that type of thing, how do you measure success and like what really matters to you as a musician?
I mean, these days, like when we were first starting out, I was more concerned about all that stuff, like how it looked and how well it was doing and all that. But now, and like I mean this full on, it's like I'm so interested in what we're creating because I have no idea what it's going to be. It's something completely new every day. That like I've lost all interest in the business side of things, and that doesn't mean that we're not going to still execute them. I'm so not concerned about ticket sales or streams or Billboard charts. I'm just concerned about catching up with the pile of work we have, because every day we don't finish a record, we got 3 more songs to show up, like something like that. So it's been just it's been so interesting, especially this past year and a half, that it's hard to really get concerned about anything else.
If you were to try to describe the relationship that you have with your audience and with your fan base, I guess audience is different because when you're moving around, I'm sure there's a lot of times you're introducing yourselves for the first time, but then you're going to have a core fan base. And I'm not bullshitting when I say this. I'm now a part of that core fan base, and
Oh yeah, man, rock and roll, dude.
I will hunt you down, and I will watch you live, and I will say, "Remember me?" As I shake you.
Dude.
But when you look at that core fan base, what do you think your relationship is with that fan base? And I'm asking you this for real, not with the standard band answer. Like how important?
Great.
Yeah, how important are those fans to you, and when you're creating and when you're performing?
I mean, honestly, like we've got tons of really great fans and a couple mega super fans that are just like, they're almost family at this point and friends. You know, you see them, they come far and wide, you know, and then sometimes we'll go out for dinner with them, or we'll hang in the green room, shoot the shit with somebody I see a lot, and then it's like family and friends. And the more you see people, we're at the level where it's not thousands and thousands of people every night, so we recognize people that show up, and the more you see them, the more you chat with them, the more you get to know each other, and then the more you're comfortable seeing them at the next show, and the more you're comfortable hanging out with them a little more. Yeah.
Does any gig ever feel like, I'm actually now trying to say this without sounding offensive because it's not supposed to be, but you were opening up for Nickelback, you know what I mean, not too long ago, and then you're playing a double header in Huntsville, Ontario, right? Very different, very different scenes, right? Like very different. Do you just treat each individual performance for what it is, or is there bigger aspirations than a doubleheader in Huntsville? You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's kind of where I'm going with that.
Oh, of course. I mean, of course, we want to play to more and more people all the time. I mean, and I do think when you listen to our music in the recordings, you're not gonna quite understand what it is. And when you see it live, it's the smoking hot power trio. Like it really clicks when you see it live. And yeah, I mean, we just want to keep doing this. We don't want to do anything else. So whatever that takes, and with how things are, the more people, the better. And the more people we can share our music with, the more people we can spread love to. And we know the name of the game. We played some great gigs, amazing rooms, tons of people. We played some of the shittiest gigs people have ever seen, but it's not for us to comment on how well it's going there when it's still going. You know what I mean? So, and the cool thing about this scene is, one day you're playing a gig to a couple hundred people. Next week you could have a call and you're playing to a couple thousand. And, we're just working on focusing more on just music and releasing the music, because the music's what leads the way for everything else. All the shows, all that. When songs are doing better for us, every other aspect of the business is more active. So we've just been focusing on that and treat every gig like it is Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Even if you're in your head going, this fucking sucks. Get me the fuck out of here. Why the fuck did we come all this way?
Yeah. And my last question for you guys: if someone's listening to Mountainhead in 30 years from now, what do you want them to understand about the era that you're in right now as a musician? Not like a whole legacy thing, but in the era you're in right now, what do you want people to understand about your era of music?
Nice question.
I was going to say in 30 years, it'll probably sound like modern music. I don't know. I definitely think that we're kind of like a cornucopia of what's going on right now. We're grounded, and we're grounded psychedelia. It's what was going on in the 60s, but with a little more organized and understanding. And I think that we're part of a movement of furthering awareness of ourselves and the species, and utilizing certain tools and certain practices that can help all of humanity when done in the right way.
Guys, I'm going to give you the floor now to promote anything you'd like to promote and get out there and tell the audience what you're doing, where they can find you, all that kind of, all the business side of things that you just, you know, that you don't want to focus on. What do you want? What do you want the people to know?
Well, folks, you already know who it is. It's Mountainhead, and you can find us at www.mountainheadmusic.com. Our next couple of gigs are private, but we will be in Kingston September 12th at the Broom Factory.
Yep.
It's always a party when we're there. Get your tickets now because we're always very close to selling out at the door. And we have a new single coming out shortly. That's all I'll say about that. But it's
more a ritual than a track, I would say.
More of a ritual than a song. But so keep your eyes peeled for that. And follow us on all the social media places to go to keep up with what we're doing. And come see us live because it'll really click. And you guarantee you're going to dance the whole time.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. And thanks for being on our magazine too, man. We really appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
All right, awesome. Thank you, guys.
Whatever you need from us, man, just ask.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Take care.
Peace, dude.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
That was Mountainhead. Absolute band. You got to go check them out. They're absolutely fantastic. Guys, go check out www.jobskills.org. See everything that Job Skills is doing, everything we're doing over there. Make sure you follow When the Music Mattered. Make sure you go check out Mountainhead. Follow me on my personal Instagram at Ray Roud. You can follow me on X at DPN_Ray. And you can follow When the Music Mattered across all our social medias, TikTok and Instagram at When the Music Mattered. And the podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we will talk very shortly next week. We've got Secondhand Dream Car. We've already recorded that episode, and it was absolutely baller, and we hope that you guys will enjoy it. Okay, take care. See ya.
When life seems down and everything tattered, take a trip with us back to when the music mattered. Music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered.